Hello, it's Mrs. Moore again, and I have for you a wonderful story that I would like to share. It is, in fact, the world's first ever phonics-based adventure novel. Some may even call it epic. It is called Adam the Codebreaker in Letterland, and it is written by Terrence Moore. And so I would like to share this with you, a couple of chapters. Words work wonders when their letters work together. Chapter 1, A Scary Morning. Once upon a time, in the middle of summer, a 6-year-old boy named Adam woke up to the scariest thing he could have imagined, though he had never imagined it before. He had imagined a lot of scary things before, monsters and ghosts, giants and whales that swallow people up whenever they went out to sea. And he had imagined how he would fight them with magic swords, and bows and arrows, and deep dark pits he would dig that the bad creatures would fall into when they were chasing him. You might say Adam was ready for your average fiend, for he was a very brave boy. But he was not ready for what happened on this strange morning, only a month after he had turned 6. He woke up to find that his parents were not at home. His mother was not getting breakfast ready. His father was not getting dressed for work. There was no smell of coffee or pancakes. There was no juice or milk or vitamins waiting for him at the table. There was not a sound in the house, not a single sound. Adam thought his parents might have overslept, since it was already light outside. He went to their bedroom but did not find them there. So he checked his father's study, but he did not find him there. He checked his mother's study, but did not find her there. He then checked to see if the Model T was still in the garage. The car was there, so that meant his parents had not driven off without him. He looked out the window onto the porch to see if his parents were on the porch swing, though they had never spent the morning on the porch, only evenings. They were not on the porch, confused and a little worried. He looked out the window into the backyard, yet saw no sign of activity. He looked out the window, so he decided to walk down the street a little to see if his parents had gone to a neighbor's at this hour of the morning for some strange reason. And it was strange, since his parents had never left him at home by himself. As he walked down the street, he saw something he'd never seen before. All his friends, who were his age or younger, were running around wildly, with their shoulders shrugged and their arms open wide. They were all asking the same questions. Have you seen your mom this morning? Have you seen your dad? Where did all the grown-ups go? No one could answer these questions. Adam, yelled his friend Jack, have your parents disappeared too? Jack was a little younger than Adam, so he usually said disappeared rather than disappeared. Yes, I could not find my mom or dad anywhere. Has the same thing happened to everyone? Oh no, Jack shouted to the rest of the children. It's happened to Adam too. What are we going to do? For the next hour or so, though it seemed like days, the children went to every house in the neighborhood. They could not find a single adult, no mother and no father. The older children were gone too, for this was the week in summer they all went to camp. It was also the week when their grandparents took the really young children, who were so cute and didn't cause much trouble, off somewhere. The children thought different things about why their parents had gone missing. One girl named Beth started the story that it was a big surprise. The parents were gathering in one of the houses with cake and cookies and presents, and this was a new holiday. The children had only to find where their parents were. After searching the 5 or 6 biggest houses in town, where such a party could have been hosted, and finding no one, the children no longer believed that story. Finally, a boy named Billy came running from his house with a piece of paper. He gave it to Adam. Adam, I found this on my kitchen table. It wasn't there last night when I went to bed. I think it's from me, since the first letter I see is B, and so it must be my name. I was just learning how to spell my name yesterday. Read it! Read it! Adam took the note. He stared at it. He knew that the markings on the paper were letters. but he only knew a few of the letters, and he did not know what they meant together when they made words. All of the children were looking at him with great hope. You see, they thought he must already know how to read, for his father was a famous professor of English at the college in town, a very old college with a big library, and his mother wrote children's stories. In fact, all of the children in town had listened to their parents read them the wonderful, mysterious stories written by Adam's mother. But Adam could not read. He, like the rest of the children his age, would be starting school in a month, when they would begin to learn how to read. Adam had heard the alphabet song many times. He loved the song, though he did not understand it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G made sense to him, but what was Elimino? That was the part of the song where he got confused. He always imagined some strange creature called an Elimino, an elephant, the biggest animal, combined with a minnow, the smallest fish. That would be ridiculous. Adam's face turned very red. He looked at all the boys and girls, his friends, whose hope now rested in him. He so hated to disappoint them. I can't read. Oh no, exclaimed the children. What will we do now? They all started moaning and crying and pulling their hair and throwing themselves on the ground. Oh, but wait, don't panic. Let's think this through, said Adam, trying to bring his friends back to their senses. We have to figure this out. Slowly all the children came back to their senses, though their eyes were still filled with tears, and they looked to Adam for words of hope. Look, we have one letter from Billy's parents. Maybe a lot of our parents left letters for us. Let's all go back to our houses, grab any letters or notes, and meet back in front of my house in a few minutes. But what good will that do if we can't read? Cried out Nancy, who was known as Nancy No Fun among all the children, since she was always telling the other children what they couldn't do. One step at a time, replied Adam. Let's be logical, he said, hearing his father's words coming from his own mouth. And one more thing, Adam told the crowd of children, as he felt his own stomach grumbling. You better get something to eat if you have not already. This could be a long day. Chapter 2, Worse Than We Thought. All the children did what Adam said. They went back to their houses and found letters and notes their parents had left them. Some were long letters, about a page long, and a whole page seemed long to them. Others were just notes that had been scribbled in a hurry. The children also had their breakfast, as best they could make it themselves, for by this time it was 9 o'clock, and all the children's tummies were rumbling. One by one they gathered in front of Adam's house, and they showed their letters to him. He asked each one of them whether they knew what their parents had said in the letters, whether any sign or word was recognizable. Each child was pretty sure that the letter began as Dear, followed by the child's name, for they had been working on their names the last week or so in preparation for school, but that was all. Adam could certainly make out his own name, A-D-A-M, Adam. He had never looked at it so closely. Just then a thought struck him. If the first letter of his name were A, and in fact there were 2 A's in his name, and everybody called A, then why didn't people call him A-Dame? For that matter, if he had a D in his name, and an M, which were called D and M, then why didn't his name sound like A-D-A-M? His mother only just started to explain that to him yesterday, but he had forgotten what she said, and now she was gone. As the children struggled to make out what the letters said, with no hope of reading them, Adam could feel the beads of sweat begin to roll down his face, for it was still summer and the day was getting hotter, and worse still, Adam could feel Nancy's sharp eyes staring disapprovingly at him. Would they be able to tell anything from these many letters? Just then a girl named Katie came down the road, carrying a piece of paper in her hand. Adam, Adam, Katie called out, it's worse than we thought. Katie's mom was the town's best artist. Her paintings hung in the town's library and in the town hall, and she had drawn the pictures in all of Adam's mom's books. Sure enough, Katie's mom, whose name was Mrs. Pastel, had sketched out a picture rather than writing a letter. It was a picture that sent chills down Adam's spine. When Katie handed it to him, Adam did not know what to say, so he held the picture up so everyone could see it. Their eyes got big. They gasped. They had no words, just a look of fear. It was much, much worse than they thought. The picture was a portrait of King Remus, the terrible king who lived on the other side of the valley. The parents of Adam's town, which was called Reading, had tried to keep their younger children from knowing about the terrible king, but their older brothers and sisters always spilled the beans. The children had only seen a picture of his image once or twice, but that was enough. He had a long, thin face with a scar running down his left cheek. He wore a perpetual scowl, and the squint of his eyes looked as though he was trying to see into your chest so he could rip out your heart. He was tall, very tall, nearly 7 feet, and he was said to have a deep, raspy voice that always barked out orders to everyone around him. He never had a kind word for anyone. He was also said to eat live frogs for breakfast. He did this to make sure no frog would ever turn into a handsome prince in his kingdom. It was also rumored that he liked to set fire to little girls' and boys' clubhouses and swing sets, which in those days were made mostly of wood. Once, not too long ago, Adam asked his parents about King Remus, whose first name was Ignore. Get it? Ignore Remus. Adam wanted to know whether what he had heard was true. Was King Remus really that bad? And would he ever come to their town? Adam's parents said that like all tall tales and rumors, some were true and some were not, but they agreed that he was a very bad man. They said there were different kinds of bad men in the world. Some tried to take your money, and some tried to hurt your body, while others, usually very clever bad men, tried to hurt your mind. And they said King Remus was one of the kind of bad men who rules by hurting other people's minds. But how can a bad man hurt your mind? Adam asked his parents. They looked at each other and knew they would have to tell the whole story, or at least a short version of it. Well, son, began Adam's father, it began like this. The town that is now called Dredton used to be free, and it was also a happy place, as all free towns are. Its name was Felicity, which means happiness. There was a big library and a college. We had many friends there. I used to teach at the college sometimes, and the people of Felicity used to read your mother's books to their children. But all that changed when this fellow, Ignore, showed up. We won't give you all the details, which only adults could understand, but he caused the people of the town, first not to trust their books, then not to care about their books, and finally not even to want their books, even to hate them. Later on, when all the books of the town had been burned in one giant bonfire, he told the people that they could not learn to read or go to school. Since there are no books, what is the point of going to school? He asked, and no one could answer him. So now King Remus rules over these people, and they are not free. He has a motto, we have heard, that he tells only his closest henchmen to rule over a people. He says, you don't need whips and chains. You just need to trick them into thinking they don't need their books. Ha ha ha. Then get them to throw away their books. People who can't read can't be free. Why doesn't somebody beat him up? Adam remembered asking. He sounds like a bully. You've always told me to stand up to bullies. Well, it's not as easy as that, replied Adam's mother, but you must realize that your father and I are doing what we can. We can't tell you these things because you are not old enough to understand them. And it would not be safe if you knew. But there are people now in Dredton who read my books to their children secretly, and also the things your father has to say. Perhaps they will be free again someday. These things take time. Time was the one thing Adam did not have right now. He saw that all his friends and all the children left in the town were looking to him for an answer and for a plan, and he had to come up with something. And here ends the first 2 chapters of Adam the Codebreaker in Letterland, written by Terrence Moore. Again, the world's first ever phonics-based adventure novel, and some would call it epic. Available for purchase in Kindle form or paperback on Amazon. Get your copy today. Thank you.